Add on to one of your points too for selling that one day. And really that comes down to a lot of trust with the upper management. And so when you're talking about delivery can build trust. So if you are showing a manager that you can consistently deliver and you're building that trust, then you'll be in a better position to have those conversations of, well, it'd be great, for productivity if we could not work every freaking day of the week, or whatever your situation is. Hopefully not every day of the week. All right. Here we go. Yeah, you can't see my password. It's those dog things. Brilliant. All right, let's see. 1 second, please. Go. No. Yeah, there we go. Oh, wait, let's see. The other way around. That should work, yeah?
That was the same to me.
Do you want to see?
Yes.
Do you want to go?
All right, who said that? That's heresy. Oh wait, I know why. I'm slow. My apologies. That's cool. There we go.
No.
Now it should work. No, it's cool. I didn't make it happen.
Gather windows.
Yeah.
Should drag the white.
Why is not mentioned up there? Yeah. Awesome. It's like writing on a board, right? Like backwards. That's what that happens. Your respect for me is just going straight down. I know. It's like, what the heck? Who is this guy going to talk to us and he can't even get the damn display? Alright. Fair enough.
Good, just some practice.
You test first.
I don't test anything. Why do you need to do that? Stuff. Alright. Alright, tell me what I'm there. Left?
Yeah.
No.
Come on.
No. Ah. You guys are killing me. I'm not this thing. That's easy. Yes, thank you. Where's my mouse at?
Drag just the white thing. Just the white thing. Okay.
Yeah, next time we
Next time I'll bring a pizza. Why down? It works on my computer. It works on mine at home. I don't know what the deal is here, but right on. Thank you. Okay, so that only took 20 minutes. And that really sets the tone well right there. All right. I'm glad you're up. Don't leave out. I'm going to need your help later, buddy. Yeah. All right. Well, actually, good afternoon. By this time, This is what I'm talking about. Agile teams as innovation teams. And first, I would like to thank a few people. I'd like to thank Maria and Alex for holding this conference and actually allowing me to speak. I want to thank you all for coming because if you actually weren't sitting here, I would just be talking to myself. I do enough of that already, and I don't need to be doing more. So I appreciate you all giving me someone to talk with. And definitely want to thank all the sponsors also for helping to make this happen. I put on a conference. It can cost a lot of money to do that, so awesome to have sponsors helping out. And also, I'd like to thank these people. This is my wife and daughter. They put up with me traveling to places and not getting to go, but I get to see them on Skype. And they support me in everything I do, so big thank you. I got that on video, so that's awesome. And also, I'd like to thank Red Bull, the beverage, for keeping me going, generally day to day. Now, I am not sponsored by Red Bull. However, if anyone knows someone at Red Bull, and they'd be interested in sponsoring someone like myself, I'm definitely open to that. So please get them in contact with me, because I drink enough, and it'd be great to get that for free. But anyway, all right. So I'm Robert Dempsey. I am the CEO and founder of Land Community Solutions. We are a web development shop in Orlando, Florida. We have some online applications. Scrum is one, which is an online Scrum tool. I do a bit of Agile training and consulting. And our mainstay is web applications using Ruby on Rails. And we've gone, I don't really want to say backwards because that's kind of offensive, but we've also re-added on PHP. And we do a lot of WordPress work too. And in addition to all of that, I speak, I travel, I blog like crazy. I do some internet marketing as well. And so I like to stay busy because if I get too bored, I get myself into trouble. And then my wife gets upset, and that's not good. So I'm all over the internet. You can find me everywhere. So quick poll, quickly, of the audience. And now I'm expecting participation from everyone, or I will start throwing stuff. Now, just as you, a little laugh, but I'll do it. I'm serious. So anyway, how many people in this room feel that they are innovative? Like on a personal level, do you do cool stuff? Can you come up with cool stuff? Things of that nature. A few. Okay, all right, run on. Don't be shy. All right, don't forget the throwing things, thing that I just mentioned. Okay, so here's an even more fun question, and at the risk of getting in trouble, if your employer is actually in the room, how many people here actually feel that you are allowed to be innovative by your employer? Okay, cool. That's good. All right. Hopefully that wasn't just because your boss is sitting beside you. All right, well, that's cool. So there's this little book that I read called Robert's Rules of Innovation. And in this book, there are actually 10 rules for them. And we're going to go through these and kind of map them to Agile, and thereby showing that really Agile teams are actually innovation teams. They're set up for innovation. And now, I wasn't going to do this, but I decided to give away a copy of the book. And so the person that I would like to do this book to is actually, so startups are kind of starting up, right, in Romania. So who is currently operating a startup? Okay, so I know you. We've been talking a lot, so I'm not going to give you the book. I will give you the book, sir. So, Robert's Rules of Innovation, there you go. Good luck with your startup. Kick some ass. All right. Oh yeah, and I'll try and keep the cussing to a minimum also. All right, so I also have a copy of this book, Lynchpin, by Seth Godin. Now, this one I want to give to someone that feels that they need to kind of make a change in their life. And I don't mean specifically a job, right? But it could be a job. But if your employer, again, is sitting beside you, maybe it's not the job, it's something else. So you're interested in making a change. Then this is who I want to give this book to. This is awesome. From Seth Godin. He's a big marketing guru person in the U.S. Oh, you don't read books, sorry. You probably already, have you read this book? Okay, run on. But I know you can. So, okay. So who is interested? Oh, okay, run on. Sorry, first hand I saw, here you go. Good luck with that. Run on. All right, so those are the prizes. Now, let's get into the 10 rules of innovation. But actually, first, let's define what innovation actually means. So, as defined by Robert Brand, who wrote that little book, innovation is defined as quote unquote finding, empowering, and fostering individuals and teams with the passion to create their environments where they do their work and play and continually improve efforts to sustain the outcome. And really it goes even beyond just like the creating new and cool stuff. And it's really about creating an organizational process that encourages the creation of new methods, ideas, and of course products, since a lot of us are working on some product or another. Right? So how do we actually foster a sense of innovation inside of an Agile team? And so for that, we'll look at the rules. So the first rule is inspire. And has anyone, or have you all heard of Tony Hsieh of Zappos.com? By chance? Show of hands? A few of you. Okay. So, I've met a number of people, and I'm sure y'all have met, hopefully someone in your life that has inspired you. And I got to meet Tony Hsieh at a conference in Orlando. And so here's a guy, well, first of all, the company that he was involved with was Zappos.com. They sell shoes, online, clothing, things of this nature. And he built this company from a very small company to ultimately selling it to Amazon for almost $1 billion, like $1 billion US dollars. That's a hell of a lot of money. And this guy, whenever he talks, he is one of the most humble people that I know for having sold a company for $1 billion. I don't think I could be as I don't know. I'd be a lot more outgoing about it than he is, but he's cool. But everything he does, and if you ever get a chance to hear him talk, is all focused on the culture of the company. And when they started Zappos, he determined that the biggest thing that they should focus on is company culture and making sure that everyone that then works at that company completely fits into that culture. So if you ever interview with Zappos, from the time you get off the plane, you get picked up by them, you get driven to the office, you get interviewed, you talk with people, etc. Every step of that process is all to find out whether or not you fit within that company culture. And everything this guy exudes, everything he talks about, very consistently also is all about company culture. They have a little book you can get for free. You can go to Las Vegas, and besides gambling, you can see Zappos.com in action. And this guy, to hear him speak is extremely inspirational because he's so focused on that culture and helping the people within the company not just be better for the company, but be better for themselves. And so he makes sure that the people that he hires think in that exact same way. And leaders need to be inspirational and they need to set the tone for how things should be. And he is definitely that, really, for me. And an interesting part of this rule that Robert Brand also added was that to set regular meetings. And so I found that interesting because, regular meetings, we do regular meetings, right? So if you're doing Scrum specifically in Agile, you have daily stand-ups, sprint reviews, sprint planning, sprint retrospectives. You have all of these regularly scheduled meetings that are hammering in the fact of, hey, we're doing Agile, it's definitely about collaboration, it's definitely a team effort, etc. Right? So it just keeps the consistency and keeps us on the path of, yes, we are in fact doing Agile and adhering to these types of principles. So it matches up that way with what he's saying. So the second rule is no risk, no innovation. And now, innovation by nature means uncertainty. And in times like these, and they're slowly getting better, but still, companies become very risk averse. And managers do not want to just put money into something that is not going to show a return. So, but Agile is by nature, right? Well, you don't use Agile to necessarily fully predict an outcome. Agile is built in such a way where you can pivot on an as-needed basis, right? That's the thing. We had tried for years in software to predict exactly what was going to happen. We had waterfall, we have a crap ton of projects failing. It just didn't work. But yeah, we do want some predictability, and Agile definitely does bring at least a level of predictability, I believe, to projects, but still not a way to predict outcomes. And it also lowers risk, right? So we can't completely eliminate risk from a project. There's always some risk, but we can definitely minimize it. And through iterative development, we are, therefore, reducing risk, because you don't have to wait 3 months to find out that your customer hates your product or the thing's a piece of junk and it's not going to work. You can find that out in 2 weeks, pretty quick. Or at least start, seeing, are the ideas really working? You can get that validation on an ongoing basis. So it's just also like, I use Paul Clip as an example, right? So he told us yesterday that his team decided, hey, let's do Kanban. And in fact, let's build a tool for Kanban, and then we'll start using Kanban ourselves. And that in of itself is a risk. And Paul could have said, no, we don't know if we're going to be making money off this tool, and could have just done nothing. But now he has a Kanban tool. It's one of the few, I believe, that are out on the market today, and they're improving it, and it's helping he and his company at any rate. And so that's risk, and that's where the innovation really comes from. So you cannot have innovation without some level of risk. But at least with Agile, we can reduce the amount of risk that we're exposed to. Yes, sir.
So, Robert, what do you say about, what's your opinion about communicating risk across the team? So, as a manager, the team should be, let's say, protect about the risks, not be communicated across the team, or should be communicated or promoted?
Okay, so the question is essentially, do we communicate about the risks to the team? Like, okay, so, and do you mean specifically the development team or everyone
not
involved?
necessarily the development, the team.
Okay, everyone that's involved in the project, the greater team. Yeah, so yes, right, you got to tell people the impact of their decisions and the risks, because say if you're my customer and I don't tell you, oh, by the way, we haven't fully used some technology, or we've used it only once or twice, now you're asking me for it, and the thing goes to hell, then that's bad on my part. I would also border on the unethical, but then I'll get into a rant. But yes, you have to communicate what the risks are. And yeah, I'll just leave it at that right there. So yes, communicate out the risks. And also when customers, at least for us, when customers start asking us for stuff, I will tell them the impact of their decisions. Either if it's code, or if it's design, or it's going to cost a bunch more money to actually implement what they want. I'm going to tell them, straight up what it is, because the more information I believe that a customer has, the more informed decision they can make. But now, what they do with that information is not my deal. It's totally on them. But if I can give them as much information as possible, then they can make a more informed decision. And that includes what are the risks of doing this. And then you then you have okay, is it technical risk? Is it business risk? Like if this whole thing fails, are we going to go under? Kind of thing. So, but yeah, you gotta, as much as you know and can communicate, yeah, absolutely. I'd say you really need to be doing that. So another part of this too is, so software craftsmanship, right, movement, we have things like the coding katas. These guys up here took a chance yesterday doing live TDD. Live coding itself is really dangerous, but testing anything is even more crazy, so I don't go there. But anyway, but in some of the exercises I've seen people do also, they'll do these coding katas, which is essentially solving a problem over and over and over and over again. And basically, you're just iteratively finding a better solution. But at the end of each of these kind of cycles, if you will, you throw away your code. You do not keep the code. And some developers just hang on to their code like it's a life jacket, right? So sometimes, too, as part of this, you just got to learn to let that stuff go. Don't hold on to your code, let it go. Ultimately. So, ownership. Ownership is number 4 a champion of innovation. And so this is somebody that is going out, like Nicholas, telling people to take these calculated risks, but also telling people, hey, you need to work a bit. And for me, that person typically is the Scrum Master that's going out. They're the kind of the not really the bridge really to the business, but kind of at the beginning. I've seen where that happens until you can get the team, like the development team, to actually talk directly to the business people. Maybe at first that's not such a good idea for many reasons, but so until then, right, the Scrum Master can be this bridge, and they're the one that has to sell management on, hey, it'd be great if my guys had a day off. We work 4 instead of 5 days, or this is why this happened, or this is why that happened, kind of thing. Right? It's someone that is championing the cause, but also the person that inspires the team and makes sure that the team is actually a full part of the success. Right? So one of the reasons that I quit doing IT a number of years ago is because I felt that I just was getting no credit. I was like the redheaded stepchild of the business world, right? So you have to have an IT guy to run everything, but who cares about that person, that kind of thing? So I got into software development so I could get that, that feedback and customers are happy and blah, blah, blah. If you fix someone's outlook, they don't care. They're just like, good, leave me alone. But that still happens in software development sometimes too. So the Scrum Master can be this person, or this this champion can be the person that ensures that the team feels a full part of the success that they're absolutely involved in. I mean, they're the boots on the ground people doing the work. So regular meetings come into play here also. Interestingly enough, regular meetings are like this. I don't know. Everyone seems to think regular meetings are a good thing. So I'll just go along and say, yeah, it's a good thing. Also, the ownership aspect of this, and talking about what went good, right? So Rachel Davies talked about Agile retrospectives yesterday, really quickly. And in the retrospectives, yes, you talk about the things that we didn't do so well, but you also talk about the things that did go well. And this is more opportunity to say, look, y'all, you're doing awesome, right? So there's a phrase saying that we are our own worst critic. And so I tend to look at stuff that I'm doing only from the negative, not of all the good things. And I find that a lot of other people do that too. So if I'm the team leader, I can say, no, not everything went bad. We did great. We delivered maybe most of what we said we were going to do. It's not a complete loss, even if the manager says, oh, it's a complete loss. No, it's not a complete loss. You delivered. You're incrementally improving this stuff. So totally the job of this person, especially a Scrum Master, if you're a Scrum Master. Now, giant corporations I've seen will have people called Agile evangelists. Has anyone ever seen an Agile evangelist? Or Agile evangelist? I can't even say that word. Right? So these are people like Guy Kawasaki, who used to go out in Apple and just basically spread the good word of Apple. Right? So the same I've seen actually in large organizations where they kind of go around and they keep everyone on the page of, yes, we're doing Agile. This is why we're doing Agile. This is why it's doing great. Hang in there. Just keep going. It'll be awesome. Right? So typically, though, with smaller companies, that person could also be you. So, value creation is number 5 on our list. And in the book, Robert Brand says that successful innovation turns ideas into money. And it's all about enhancing stakeholder value, which is great, because enhancing stakeholder value is one of the major values of the Agile Manifesto. Right? So it's like, okay, so innovation teams create value. We as Agile teams create value. Why not? Hand in hand. Very easy stuff there. And techniques like Mike Goldenberg yesterday shared. I won't try and butcher his first name, even after he told me how to pronounce it correctly. Feed into this stuff too. How do we know if we're actually getting value out of the work that we're doing? Well, you can do the equations that he showed us yesterday. Awesome stuff. Makes it really visible to everyone. But essentially, it comes down to finding out what is more important to our customers. And that's a customer, whether they are internal or external. So, here's a good question too. How many of y'all work for a pure software company? Like your company develops software purely for other companies? Yeah, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, right, so a little bit. So do the rest of y'all work in companies that have like a software that's just developed internally? Like, how about this? Show of hands for folks that have like software people inside of their company, but you don't develop software as a business. So what are the? Okay, interesting. So are the rest of y'all not in software? I'm just curious. No, because I find sometimes that there's also the attitude of like pure software companies can be very different towards the developers than people that just happen to have software people like inside of their company doing work. There's kind of less understanding on the management side. And the attitude towards customers is different. Also, because if I am getting paid by a customer, and I don't necessarily see them every working day of my life, then my attitude towards them is very different than, oh yeah, that's Bob in accounting over there. I know he wants this feature, but whatever's Bob, he's my friend. It could wait, right? Very different attitude towards providing value to customers. And value comes in two forms. It can come in the sense of return on investment, again, which I talked about yesterday, and also enhanced product value. But ultimately, it comes down to delivering value to our customer, again, something that is very agile. All right, so I'm going to speed up here so we can get to this fun exercise in which everyone is going to have to participate. So you don't want to hear me keep blabbing on about this. So, number 6 is accountability. Accountability is a very big deal in Agile. And having accountability also brings about trust. It's basically, you delivering to me what you say you're going to deliver, and then if that doesn't happen, you tell me honestly why that doesn't happen. Hopefully you work in a company where you can actually kind of like explain why something might not happen and not get yelled at too bad by a manager, for being too transparent or something. But either way, we have a lot of accountability in Agile, especially at the team level, right? So the idea with Agile is that the team sinks or swims as a team, not as individuals. Right? You let the individual stuff work itself out within the team. We call it peer pressure, right? So people just beating up on each other, being like, well, your code keeps failing. What the hell is going on, right? So me as a manager, I don't want to have to deal with that. I let that stuff get resolved internally, where people keep, it can get really fun and interesting with that, especially depending on culture. But some of the more like manager scaring terms like self-managing and self-organizing come into play here also. And a lot of managers that I've run into think that what this means is that basically I as a developer do whatever the hell I want, whenever the hell I want. And this is completely, it's so far from the truth. It's actually very structured, especially Scrum, which is like, this is kind of the way you go about things. Or even Kanban, where it's, okay, this is what we've decided it's going to look like. Let's go through that, right? It's very structured. It's not, I do whatever the hell I want. I don't know where that came from, but it does. But anyway, right? Kanban, Scrum, XP, all of these put a framework in place. And so creativity, software is a very creative process, right? We are creating something from literally like nothing. Like it didn't exist. We type some stuff on the computer and all this cool stuff starts happening. That is a very creative process. However, you can't just have all the time in the world to do that because we have businesses to run and we need to make money and stuff. So, but you can still have a lot of leeway for creativity even within these very structured processes. There are always boundaries and we're always going to need accountability. So number 7 is training and coaching. And what Brent is referring to in this book isn't what we may think of as technical coaching or training. It's more of like what Tony Hsieh is doing, which is using proper hiring, training, and coaching to create, reinforce, and yes, this is a quote directly from the book. I don't actually talk like this. But hiring, training, and coaching to create, reinforce, and enhance company culture and mindset. And in the book, he mentions that it's very important to have this from the top down. So I'm not going to ask you all to raise hands on this question, but have you ever, and again, don't answer this question out loud because I don't want to get you in trouble, but have you ever worked with a manager that is more like, do as I say, not as I do? In other words, they are not an example. And you look at them and you're like, wait a second, if I did that, I'd be fired. But he or she can do that and get away with it. They're not an example. Kind of bad management strategy there, but that's just that's me. But anyway, but Tony Hsieh is this guy again that really personifies everything that he is talking about. And so again, all of the training, the coaching, and everything that they do internally is to reinforce this company culture. It's kind of like if you go to Agile training, really, right? And you're So a lot of people here keep also mentioning the Agile principles and whatnot. So it's like we are hammering these principles into you over and over and over. So that's what this is referring to. And Agile also, just to make sure there's no confusion, is a set of, it's not a set of practices, it's a set of principles. That's what Agile itself is. It's this umbrella term. Then the frameworks are these manifestations, right? They're these things created from these Agile principles. So that's where you get, again, Scrum, extreme programming, Kanban, all of these things. But what Agile itself is the set of principles. And the principles and values of a company may not align with the Agile principles. And so I've seen some interesting stuff with that too, where you say, okay, well in Agile we want a lot of transparency. But then if someone is transparent and they try and say, well yes, this is why we didn't deliver every story that we said we were going to, they get crapped on for that. They get yelled at for that. It's like, well wait, I'm being transparent. I'm not lying about why we didn't deliver. And that's Agile, but they don't. Yeah. So sometimes it can take some time for the principles to spread throughout the organization as well. So next up is idea management, 8. So we're coming down the home stretch here, and then we're going to get into some fun, I promise you. So number 8, idea management. So how many people here get to brainstorm either features with the customer? All right, let's actually ask that question. Anyone that's on a team, do you get to brainstorm features with a customer? Raise your hand. Yeah. Okay, right on. So also for teams, how many of y'all get to brainstorm solutions to issues or with your team? Oh, cool, even better. Right on. Well then I'm in the right place. You guys are hitting. I don't even know what you're talking. Right on. Okay, and then who's familiar with mind mapping? Who uses mind mapping? Oh, right on. Okay. Well, something cool. I'll just leave that for later. But anyway, so what idea management refers to is effectively just brainstorming. Really, that's all it is. And keeping that in some place, like a line map. So next, observe and measure. Right. So in terms of innovation and new product development, what Brand in the book was referring to is specifically measuring the time between these gates. He says that the innovation process or new product development is kind of this stage gate process where you go from one stage and then you evaluate, should we continue to the next one, on and on and on. Kind of like yesterday, it was mentioned that even before we start iterating, you have to look at, are we even ready to iterate? So it's almost like doing that, but at the end of every sprint. So he's talking about that, measuring the time within the process and then the time in between kind of those stages. And to me that seems very kind of Kanban in a way. But in Agile also we have a lot of metrics, right? So we talk about quantity of work developed, so velocity, things like story points, how much stuff did we actually get done, quality, so we can get into how much testing do we have, code coverage, etc., and quite a few others. And as in product development with Agile, it's all about Kaizen and continuously improving. And this is also where Agile retrospectives come in and are very important of looking at the process. Okay, how did we do this time versus last time? What impediments are we actually getting through? Okay, so how can we as a team improve our process to be even better the next time? So very Agile again. I love this. So innovation, agility, it's all together. So last but not least, net result and reward, right? So it all comes down to this. Businesses need money to run, and it's all really about the almighty dollar, or in my case, or the euro, or the lei, depending on where you are. It's making that money, because we gotta have money to run a business. People that work with me seem to want money, in exchange for what they do for me. I don't know why, but whatever. So also incentives. Incentives, cannot forget incentives. And now incentives do not have to be monetary. And we had a great discussion about this at lunch and after lunch too. If you have folks that really only care about money, then you might have an issue with the folks that are working for you. Because ultimately, people that are only run by money, in my experience, right? This is totally one-sided statement here. If you only care about money, then you'll really never be satisfied. Because you're always wanting just more and more and more. So if you have folks though that, we need money to live, don't get me wrong, right? I got bills to pay, and I'm married and I have a daughter and all this kind of thing. But money isn't the full driver. And so if you can come up with even some non-monetary incentives, right? Paul was talking about, And Paul said, in the jail situation, you either deliver or you're dead, right? That's one motivator, but I can't really threaten people with their lives on my teams. That's illegal. I get arrested. But the respect is a very big deal, and especially when you're working with folks that have been, I guess you could say, no, I'll just say it straight out like this, kind of crapped on, for a long time, misunderstood, just not understood at all. So, if you're leading these folks and you just give them the respect that they deserve, that can be enormous. Tell them they're doing a good job. I mean, if you've ever had a manager that never tells you that you're doing a good job, do you really want to keep doing that job? I don't. I don't know. That's just me. So, anyway, there are some major roadblocks, though, to innovation. Some are bigger than others. Because not everything is wine and roses, as they say. I don't live in a perfect world. I'm sure you all don't either, right? So sometimes we run into big issues to innovation. The biggest killer, I would say, is trust, right off the bat. If you don't have trust, then you are basically fighting an uphill battle the entire time to try and get anything, to get some more time to say, hey, we need to do just a quick proof of concept to make sure this thing is actually going to work before we develop. Well, proof of concept code gets thrown away. But you're supposed to work exactly 40 hours a week and be 100% productive all the freaking time, right? But that's a total crap statement anyway. But if you don't have trust in place and those expectations are put, it's very difficult to adjust those expectations. Now I apologize, I'm a bit belligerent about a lot of this stuff. So hopefully I'm not coming off too upset. But anyway, next. All right. So culture, it can also be a very big thing. Either that of the company itself or the country also can be a huge factor. So for instance, I work with a lot of folks in the Philippines, and the folks that I work with are not used to giving ideas. They're not used to giving feedback because they've been beaten down in their jobs and rejected so many times that they just don't get feedback. And I literally had to tell these folks, look, I will fire you if you do not start giving me feedback. If I have to tell you exactly what to do, exactly what to code all the time, we are going to have a problem. Because I do not have the time for that, I don't have the inclination for that, and then I might as well just code it myself, which isn't a good idea, but I can do it if I had to. I used to do it. Because of that culture, though, that they're in, I had to, over time, work with them to tell them, hey, I will accept your ideas. It's okay to give ideas. I want your ideas. Please give me your freaking ideas. And ultimately, they got it, and so they give me ideas. And it has turned out awesome. They've thought of all sorts of different features that we can add, all sorts of good stuff, right? But we had to first overcome that cultural barrier, and that can be very difficult to do. I would say school. I blame school for a lot of stuff too, where they don't teach you to deal with people. They only teach you how to code if you did computer science. At least in my computer science program, where they didn't mention subversion. But anyway, or version control in the program. Kind of a problem, right? So anyway, so also two biggies are fear and risk aversion as well. Fear is, so companies don't want to fail. They don't want to appear as failures. Managers, none of us really want to appear as failures. And we sure as hell don't want to get punished for failing. But then you always hear this, well, fail fast or fail cheap. So it's okay to fail, right? But getting even some folks to the point of, hey, it's okay that we did, fail. Not a fail in the sense of our company went bankrupt and we're totally, SOL. It's like, okay, so we didn't make this sprint fully, but, we've learned from it, and next time we will get better. And it's just sticking at it, and so you fail less. And so things like also exercises like coding katas and things of this nature can also, help us learn to just let some of this go. And again, trust is a huge factor as well. All right, so anyway, enough of the talking. Let's play a game. So I can talk about innovation all day, but it's more fun to actually play a little game. So let's see this in action. So we are going to be building some paper airplanes. And I just so happen to bring from the US a whole bunch of paper. So I need some help. Alex, can you help me? Pass this out real quick. All right. So in a second, I will give you the rules after everyone has a piece of paper. We're going to do a few rounds, and hopefully There's enough pens also to be writing stuff, but think paper airplane. Right on. They're like, what? See if I can open up the paper package faster than I can get my laptop working. Mail. All right. We will divide and conquer. That doesn't count, but I think count. There you are, sir. Oh, there you are. There you are. All right. So, hopefully everyone is forming the picture of the paper airplane in their head. Hopefully everyone at one point has actually made a paper airplane. Otherwise, you'll be cheating off your neighbor and looking at what they're doing. So this should be fun. There you are. All the way over here. Got it. Y'all have paper? You get it right on. All right. So there are rules. There are always rules. Because God is my world, and I put rules. All right. So round one. These are the rules for round one. All right. It's going to be 10 minutes, maybe less. Hopefully less. If it takes you 10 minutes to create a paper airplane, I'm going to start wondering, and I think I'm in the right room. So, all right, so 5 minutes? All right, so I got 2 weeks, so maybe we'll do it quick. All right, so I've been overruled, so you got 5 minutes. You got to work by yourself, try not to look at what someone is doing, and then write your name on the plane. That's very important. Write your name on the plane. So go. You got 5 minutes. More or less. Yes, question.
Can we use our own paper?
Yeah, if you want to use your own paper, that's no. Actually, no. No, you must use the same paper. Sorry. No. Keep it. Okay. All right. Even less. You got 2 minutes now. Go. Yeah, because actually the next one will need a little bit. And I need y'all to get to lunch. You want lunch? If I hold you for lunch, you will hate me even more. Right. Actually, now it's 15 minutes. Go. Change the rules. Alright, I have the timer here. Go. Alright, we will give y'all another minute to finish up here. That's not 5 minutes. No, well, it's been reduced. Because lunch is coming soon. And then we have another paper airplane exercise after this one, too.
That's changing scope, you know?
Oh,
Make a change the button.
that's funny. I am in the right room. Excellent. You better hurry up there, buddy. Stop talking and more paper airplane pulling. You're right. What did we say about productivity? 40 hours a week? 100%? Very true. Yeah. 60 or 70 hours. What? In what?
Can you?
Wait, yeah. Hold on. Okay, is everyone running with their paper airplanes? Okay, now get up. Now I'm serious, y'all have to get up. Sorry. Alright, so we need people to be at least on some level of a playing field so that we can throw these paper airplanes. Actually, you know what? No, we don't. Never mind. Because the contest isn't necessarily how far it goes just this way. So, okay, this will be fun because a lot of y'all have paper airplanes. Alright, so remember your paper airplane. And on the count of 3, we're going to toss them. And try not to hit the person in front of you unless you know them and it's on purpose. That's right. And I'm going to move this way because y'all are all pointed at me. So, alright, so toss, yeah. Right, yeah. I didn't want to. Okay, so toss your paper airplanes. Go! Oh, yeah, one actually goes pretty far. That was good. Oh, that's a boomerang. All right, pretty good. Okay, now let's leave the paper airplanes now. Did you see how far your paper airplanes went? Did I not tell you that you were supposed to pay attention to the paper airplanes? I'm sorry. Okay, so now, all right, so everyone can sit down. Thank you very much for that. All right, so now we're going to do a quick round 2, but this time, you all have to, there are some new rules. All right, we actually don't have 15 minutes. We'll take this down to like 3, so we'll see how well you all can collaborate. So, work in groups of 4, come up with a team name, decide on a team leader for this little project of ours, and then write your team name on the plane. So, groups of 4, and then we'll pass out the paper. Go. All right, we got groups of 4. All right, team leaders, please get up with your planes and prepare to throw. All right. All right, on the count of 3, we throw the planes, and don't forget, keep track of where your plane went. Right on? All right. 3, 2, 1, go! All right, please, everyone, back to your seats. That was fantastic. All right, so real quick, let's have a retrospective for our plane making. So, and I want to write this down, and so I'm going to have to, this is going to be fun.
Would you like me to type it?
Oh, that'd be fantastic. Thank you, ma'am. Yes.
No, it's a Mac.
It's a Mac. Yes, and the actual screen that you'll be typing on is over there. Although we could move it.
So,
Let me not be a jerk and actually move it over here. There we go. All right, cool. All right, so what I'm looking for here are some observations on the process that you used when it was just you doing this paper airplane making. So don't everyone call out at once, but raise your hand real quick, make an observation, and we'll write it down on the presentation here. Then that's going on the internet forever. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe I should have said that. Observation.
So when I started to do the plane by myself, it was really hard because I couldn't remember the process. So it was just like remembering use of light.
Okay, because you haven't made paper airplanes in a while?
Yeah.
I mean, you can't just do that at work. Sorry. All right. So had to remember, right? Go back through the steps because haven't done it for a while. Paul.
When I made a paper airplane myself, I made the best one I knew how. And when we did it as a team, we used the design of the team member, so we had the most successful flight. Who knows better design than I did.
Right on. So the next slide will be the team observations. So we'll save that one for the next time. Sorry, I didn't mention that, but very good. Okay. So you made the best plan that you yourself knew how to do. Right. Yes.
It was easier to get to the result by myself than
Okay.
with the team because we did not have to meet or meet.
Okay. So it was God of your world. You dictated what your plan would be. That was that. Okay, right on. So easier because less you didn't have to pass anything by anyone. Right on. All right, what up? Yes, sir.
I wrote the name first on the airplane and then do the airplane. When we did the team, we flew the airplane, then we wrote the name on it.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so you wrote down the name because he wrote down his name first before then creating the paper airplane. And I'll take the other part of this on the next slide.
Yeah.
So, anything else? Let's do like one more. Quick observation.
I had a tendency to look at other people where these guys write their name on the page.
You were cheating. No, no, but yeah. Okay, so you were looking to see what other people were doing also.
I was thinking if they're writing their name in the side of their airplane or on a wing or something like this.
Okay, right on. All right. So next up, and I guess we just scroll down there. The next one are the. All right. So observations of the team. So Paul again with the team.
We use the best idea of the team.
Okay.
There's design.
Right on. So whoever had the most success, that's what you went with again. Okay, cool. Yes.
We reached the best name after fourth. It was the third or the fourth flag.
The best team name?
Yeah. So we brainstormed a little bit.
We collaborated the name. While
Okay.
collaborating on a certain idea with the.
And did you? Okay, sorry.
So we had four names before reaching the final one.
And were you making up the names as you did the airplane, or were they separate?
No,
kind of processes?
we were making up the names while we were doing the thing.
Okay, but eventually the last one you came up with was the best.
Yeah, it was really great.
Right on. Yes, sir.
So we lost some of the available time trying to find the fourth member of the group. Our three-person group. So.
Gotcha.
Yes, and then I think that we focused on producing something classical than innovating, like I personally did in the first. So when we were a group, we didn't look that much to
To like the past, just let's produce the airplane because of the time. Yeah. Okay, right on. Yo.
So the pressure grew because you're not representing only yourself, but the group is global.
Okay, so more pressure to deliver, like within the group.
The best result. So as you try to make the plane and throw it, you often think you're not doing the best. You're representing
Right on.
I had no pressure. He was doing the
You were fine.
the team builder. Based on the principle that we choose the best airplane, the team leader, so the team leader build the airplane next time, and we're checking about the names.
Oh, right on. Right on. All right, so one more.
We did two designs and we accepted the vote and write them in the last one.
Okay, right on.
Tested the design.
So yeah, they did two. Yeah, they did two designs, and they actually tested both of them within the allotted time. I think. Right. Double the productivity. Hence my calculations. They were incorrect. All right, cool. Well, thank you very much. Yeah, appreciate it. All right, so that's really interesting stuff. So also some, any other just general observations about the whole thing? Like, I don't know, not something like folding paper airplanes is stupid, Rob. Why did you do that? You know, but just any general statements about the thing. Yeah, on lunch.
It was fun.
It was fun. Okay, that's cool. Good.
But not enough time.
But not enough time.
Oh no. Plenty of time. I mean, did anybody not finish the plane?
Everyone finished the planes.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
there's nothing.
All right, right on. So you can still then be like kind of creative in a way within the constraints, essentially.
This flexible design, I mean, a folded airplane is flexible design.
Right on.
If you wanted us to hold a swan in a diagram of dreaming, it would be more interesting.
Yeah.
More interesting.
Yeah. Like, there's no way how I can do that, though. I'm not going to ask you to do that. Be like, well, let's you do a swan. I'm like, oh, crap. Then I wouldn't be going on to you guys. All right, so, well, that's it for the talk. Are there any questions or comments? Y'all just want to get food, I'm assuming? Well, okay, let's put it this way. If you would like to connect with me, and you do have questions after we eat, you can connect with me all over the place. Again, online, Twitter, LinkedIn, here. Also, just a quick reminder, sponsors, but speakers are people too. So definitely don't be afraid to walk up to any of the speakers that are here and start asking them questions, because I'm sure that they are more than happy and hoping that you do come up and ask them questions. So don't be afraid. I know when I started going to conferences and I met people, I didn't know what the hell to say. I was starstruck. And I'm like, wait, these are just people that know more about me than something. And I run into a lot of people that know a lot more about me than something. But don't let that hold you back. So definitely just walk up, ask people. They'll be cool. So anyway, thank you all very much. Enjoy the rest of your conference.